Hutchins. Another video appears to show Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed as she was questioned by investigators moments after the shooting. But the most chilling of all, this body cam footage.
Restrictions at the southern border. 47 Democrats on Capitol Hill are now asking the White House to extend Title 42, which is a Trump-era policy that allows the U.S. to block the entrance for a large number of migrants. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court will hear arguments over the Remain in Mexico policy, which is technically still in place despite the president's efforts to suspend that controversial program. In Eastern Europe tonight, Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin are currently meeting with the president of Ukraine, just hours after he publicly announced that the U.S. officials should not come to Kyiv empty-handed. Tonight's meeting comes as Russian forces continue to target residential areas around the country, exactly 2 months after the invasion first began. Fox's Trey Yingst has the latest now from Kyiv.
Today marks 2 months since Russia launched its invasion into Ukraine, and the civilian death toll here continues to rise. Overnight, 8 people were killed in the port city of Odessa after Russian missiles struck a residential block. A mother and her 3-month-old baby are among the dead. A stark reminder of the innocent people stuck amid this war. Further east in the besieged city of Mariupol, Russian troops are reportedly trying to storm a steel plant where more than 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers and civilians are trapped underground. Ukraine's deputy prime minister is calling on the United Nations to demand a ceasefire in Mariupol in order to create a new humanitarian evacuation route. This after a humanitarian corridor out of the port city collapsed earlier today.
If our people will be killed in Mariupol, if there will be a referendum, a pseudo-referendum in newly proclaimed pseudo-republics, Ukraine will leave any negotiating process.
According to an advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a meeting is taking place between 2 top-level U.S. officials, Secretary Austin and Secretary Blinken, and the leader of Ukraine. Now, he is expected in any potential meeting with U.S. officials to ask for more heavy weapons. This comes after that $800 million package that includes 72 artillery units that are much needed by the Ukrainian military to push back this new Russian offensive in the eastern Donbas region. In Kyiv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Voters cast ballots for him simply to keep out the fiercely nationalist Le Pen. Still, Macron pledged to reunite the country and work to assuage the anger of French voters that fed Le Pen's campaign. Internationally, the result triggered waves of relief among allies that the nation won't abruptly shift course from EU and NATO efforts to punish and contain Russia's war. Title 42, the Trump-era health policy that allowed the deportation of asylum seekers without hearings to prevent the spread of COVID-19, is set to expire on May 23rd. It's an issue that has fired many up on both sides. So how will it play out politically as the midterm elections approach? Experts weigh in.
We see large groups of people, dozens of people, even sometimes more than 100 people arriving together.
Record-breaking numbers of migrants across the southern border in 2021, and now border officials warn of another looming spike.
When you tighten enforcement at one area of the border, another area of the border inflates. And we've seen this on kind of a micro scale in the past several years, where migration at the U.S.-Mexico border has been really reactive to U.S. policy.
The latest policy shift, a lifting of Title 42, which lets the U.S. deport asylum seekers without allowing them to apply for asylum.
Right, that this is an intractable situation. They don't really know how to solve it. It is ongoing and shifting.
Republicans say by lifting Title 42, the Biden administration is essentially allowing for open borders, with DHS estimating some 18,000 illegal crossings per day. Texas Governor Greg Abbott now calling for Texas to relocate migrants directly to Washington, D.C.
Texas is stepping up to do more than what any state has ever done to secure our border.
According to a recent Harris-Capps poll, just 32% approve of President Biden's handling of immigration. But political experts say it's too soon to tell whether or not immigration will be a deciding factor for the midterms, and if the president's favorability will cause Democrats to lose the House and Senate.
But there are a lot of moving pieces right now, and it really is too early to cast the die and say it's done.
Pivoting now to the pandemic.
Prom.
But first, we begin with a developing situation tonight in South Fulton, where a shootout at a local park leaves a young man dead. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight on Fox 5 News Edge at 11. I'm Russ Spencer. That gunfire erupted at Welcome All Park this afternoon, just a few feet away from a Stop the Violence rally, of all things. South Fulton police tell Fox 5 that the victim and another man got into an argument. Both men pulled out guns and started shooting. It's happened a lot this year. City of South Fulton Councilwoman Helen Willis heard those shots. She was in the middle of a speech calling for an end to violence.
I heard gunshots. I walked over, and there was a young man laying on the ground, slumped over in a pool of blood. One end, we have a family-oriented, fun-time, Stop the Violence rally, and then at the other end of the park, we have violence.
Police say they have the gunman in custody, but have yet to determine whether he will face charges. Well, some scary moments near a big tourist destination in downtown Atlanta. Police say 5 teens were shot near Centennial Olympic Park last night. Tonight, we're now hearing about scary moments for Noonan High School students who were at the prom near the scene of that shooting. A News Edge reporter, Rob DiRienzo, spoke with a high school junior who described what happened next.
Well, police say this all started with an argument. The 5 teens that were hit are now listed in stable condition. Meanwhile, across the street from the scene, high schoolers from Noonan were trying to enjoy their prom night when bullets started flying.
I was just really shocked, and I was grateful that I got out with my life.
Police say someone started shooting right before 10 p.m. on a very busy Saturday night on Andrew Young International Boulevard near Centennial Olympic Park, across from this Waffle House. Cops say the victims are between the ages of 15 and 19. Medics found 3 on the scene, then the other 2 turned up later.
Those 2 people actually took a vehicle from a valet in an area at gunpoint, transported themselves to the hospital.
Police charged them with carjacking. During the chaos, Noonan High School junior McKenna Zisk was attending prom across the street at the College Football Hall of Fame.
We were dancing, having a lot of fun. We got in there was a lot of security.
She soon found out that one bullet flew into the party bus she was about to get onto. Thankfully, the driver was the only person on board and was not hit.
One of those things that a parent never wants to hear. She called me and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm still at prom. Just want to let you know I'm safe."
A spokesperson for Coweta Schools says none of their students were involved or hurt, and many of them were still inside the prom when the shooting happened.
They couldn't have handled it any better. My daughter was there with our principal, Chase Puckett, and she was able to hand the phone right to him.
The Zisks say this could have all easily ended much, much worse.
You could see the bullet where it could have hit our driver.
And as all of this was going on top of the Noonan prom, some 20,000 kids from across the country are in this part of town for a development conference at the Georgia World Congress Center. It's not clear if any more arrests have been made. In downtown,
Of course, the migrants were involved in illegal drug trafficking and were ultimately saved. But Evans is still missing tonight as the search and rescue efforts to find him continue along the border. Meanwhile, a growing number of Democratic lawmakers.
A little girl, you heard her there bursting into tears during the traffic stop. The cop was just playing around. And the kids, when he wrote that fake speeding ticket, that little girl was not moved. So she got up and left. Looks like there's a little smile there at the very end.
Sitting in a traffic jam. Maggie. Life in the big city in a wheelchair.
I never got an answer from her, and that's not like her.
As Convo grieves, she worries too about how the kids have been traumatized.
So when you have a 3-year-old that cries in her sleep, when you have a 5 and a 7-year-old that toss and turn all night long, having bad dreams, you know, that's something that no one should ever have to go through.
Her family now desperate to have the killer caught.
And I know that God is going to see to it that justice is done. I would not say rest in peace just yet until I see justice done for my granddaughter.
Well, Connie shared this with us about how he will remember his mom.
She loved me, and my brother and my sisters, and I miss her so much.
Eubanks are high school seniors from New Jersey in town for the DECA conference at the Georgia World Congress Center, and they found themselves at the wrong place at the wrong time just before 10 Saturday night.
We were walking back from the convention. We left a little early, and then as we were walking, we heard like the shots, and then they told us to go back.
5 teens ranging from 15 to 19 years old were shot.
It was very scary that could have been us if we were like a little bit closer.
Now more precautions are in place for the thousands of students here for the conference.
We were allowed out during the night, but now our teacher wants us to stay inside.
They actually made it a bit more safer for the convention. Now we have shuttles and stuff like that, but yeah, there's still that bit of paranoia.
Noonan High School's prom was also downtown that night, according to one mom who posted to Facebook that a stray bullet hit her daughter's prom bus.
I'm sure you understand parents' concerns when you have so many kids walking around and something like this happens at 10 o'clock at night.
Yes, very, very concerning. I'm one of those concerned parents because my daughter's prom is next weekend at one of the hotels.
Atlanta Police Captain Antonio Clay works in Zone 5, which includes downtown.
But overall, downtown is safe. We do have those one-off incidents, and we'll add extra patrols in that area.
4 months into 2022, there have been 8 homicides reported downtown, as many as the entirety of 2021.
Those murders are concerning. Most of them was targeted people who knew who just didn't have conflict resolution.
But other crime is trending down. While there have been dozens of assaults downtown in the first 4 months of 2022, it's still on track to be less than what we saw last year.
Our efforts are working.
Also new tonight, a scathing call out from the state's top.
Don't vote as if you were a link in a chain of fools. Vote with a little common sense.